All right.
All
We are
right.
live. Yay! Hi, everyone. I am Isabelle Zimmerman, and this is,
Kristina Holle, nice to be here, ready to have a little conversation about the future of work.
yes. So Kristina and I were inspired to have this conversation. Thank you so much for watching the videos and commenting and letting us know that they resonated. And we are going to do a little presentation to discuss the future of the workplace. So Kristina is showing the presentation. All right, Kristina, go ahead and start it.
Okay, so, as you've seen, we've built out Elevate to New Heights, and it's really talking about the way that the workplace is evolving into a new paradigm. The old way of going to work is not going to sustain as we move forward. And people are probably asking why. And I think that today we'll have some conversation around it and we'll dig in a little bit deeper. But first, we're going to talk about current state of what's going on, and then we'll talk about next steps and what the future of work looks like. But we'll do a little bit of an introduction. So I will introduce myself first. My name is Kristina Holle. I've been in corporate for 20 plus years in HR leadership roles. And what's really important is that during COVID, I wrote a book. The book is called The Authentic You: Unleash Your Leadership Potential. And it's really about leaders learning how to tap in to their stories and own them in their entirety so they can show up better in the workplace and be a more integrated leader, be an authentic leader, which is a leader that leads with truth and heart. And I think we're going to need that more than ever as we're moving into this new space after the pandemic. People are looking for connection. And that's why we're here. That's why we're called to kind of have these conversations and make sure that people understand that there is such value in being able to tap into our inward stories. So that is a little bit about me, and then we'll go into that a little bit further, and then I'll pass it over to Isabelle.
Thank you, Kristina. My name is Isabelle Zimmerman. I am a full-time Ascension teacher, and it's okay if you don't know what that is. But I would say to you, I am connected through my heart center, and I am inspired to pass along these teachings to you and how it can impact your life, your existence, and your journey. And Kristina and I, we are very passionate around corporate America. I've been in corporate America since I was 14 years old. I loved it. I really enjoyed it, but there really is a change that's happening. And a lot of you have been feeling it. A lot of you have had your lives disrupted. Your day-to-day activities are different from where they were in 2019. Your 2020 transitional period changed for you. A lot of you are working remotely. A lot of you are having meetings via Zoom. Some of you are back at the office. Some of you are not back at the office. So I would say it was a big disruptor, right? And what does that mean for us going into the future? And that's why we are here having these conversations.
Excellent. So, let's go into this. There's so much that can be said to what is going on with this shift. But from a business perspective, I think many of us have heard the concept of the Great Resignation. And the Great Resignation is really about the idea that everyone is leaving. That level of loyalty is not in place the same way, which is forcing our organizations to start to do things a little bit differently, or at least to think about how we can engage differently with our folks, right? We'll go through some of the stats here, but this was just pulled from the Gallup study from 2021. And It's saying that 36%, only 36% are actually engaged in their work or workplaces. And then from a global perspective, it's only 20. So, from a business perspective, that really leaves a lot on the table, with really encouraging our workplace, our engagement with our folks to really produce at a different level. And why does it matter? It matters because if you're not going to provide that environment, they're going to go somewhere else. And, money, of course, is a part of the equation, but money is not all of the equation. And I would say that our leaders, and this is where the work of the work is, our leaders are going to have to step up and lead at a different level, not lead by script, but actually show a little parts of themselves, be a little vulnerable, be able to tap into their inner stories and engage. And the reason why that's important, and if you think directly in your own personal life, like you're going to connect to someone who has a genuine approach, who really cares about you at the end of the day, rather than just going through the motions and just having a paycheck. And, in the past, I would say in a more traditional approach, that was not on the forefront. I do think that after COVID took place, it was a disruptor, as you said. It changed the way people are connecting. I will say from, personal experience and as well from, seeing people throughout the workplace, people are longing for connection, and that you can't fake that. The only way you can really connect with another is really if you can connect with yourself, so you can show up at a much more elevated state and lead. And the reason why this is so important, and we'll go into more stats, right? This is so important because you don't want people to leave your organization and shop around. You actually want them to be retained and feel as though that there's a sense of belonging with your organization, as well as your leaders. And the reason why we are tapping into the leadership component is because your leaders, how they show up in your organizations, will dictate the culture that you have. If you have leaders that are not fully engaged with themselves, or they do not show up in a, I would say, a heart-led manner, they actually care, then people will read that and it will actually negatively impact your organization and your culture. So I think that this is a real thing, whether or not people understand it yet, but there is a war for talent, and people want to work for organizations that care for them. So are you setting your organization up in a good position where you are already ahead of the game? Your leaders are already the best leaders out there, that there is a whole self-management component. That's what authentic leadership is. And I'll go into that further, but it's things that we need to start thinking about, because there is a shift happening from the traditional way of going to work to the way that the human side that needs to be acknowledged as we go to work. And then, the reason why is this important? Because you'll have productive employees and you'll actually maximize on the output from your employees. When they're in this disengaged state, you are not getting the full value that you are wanting from your employees. Everybody wants to reduce turnover, but we need to make sure that we're setting up, our role is to create the space so people want to be there, that there's a sense of belonging. There's like people collaborate. It's like an open environment where people can learn and that they're excited. So, this is one stat, but there is other stats here that I will go into. 74%, think about that. This is from 2021. 74% are either actively looking for new employment or watching for openings. You are not getting your full potential from those folks in your work environments when they're in this state. There's a term, it's called presentism. So they're sitting there, their bodies are there, but they're not actively working to the full potential that they could be. Then you have 55% that are not engaged. They're just there, and they're kind of just giving you the bare minimum in order to get through the day. That's a shame, because they could also be holding up spots for people if you had the right kind of environment that would really want to work and do deeper work there. And then you have 30%, they're engaged, but it's only 30%, right? And they're still going to look around, and there's an actual effect, right? You want, if you're going to have an engaged workforce, you want like 80% to be engaged and then worry about the 20%. But if you're only 30% that's engaged, then there's going to be people that are on the fence. They could kind of like tip over and then go into that disengagement bucket, which is really, I think, disappointing, because again, you want people to be fully engaged in your workforce. You want to have the best in class culture for your environment, but you cannot do that if your folks are not engaged. So, and there's many, so here are some of the factors, right? They're looking for like a different job on the market, times to spend with their family. What is the work-life balance? And then what happened during COVID is like everybody's questioning the career that they took or that they're in. And, is this really for me? Why am I doing this? Because there was a pause for us to stop and reflect and go, okay, now what? Now what? We're not rushing around. We're not just going through the prescribed model. We're not just following the flow of what we think we're supposed to do. This actually went deeper. I wrote a book, right? So then there's that whole self-reflection, and the book changed my life, because now I fully understand the magnitude of the limitless potential we have in humans, as well as in organizations that have not been tapped into, because we've never had to pause. So when we pause, now it's an opportunity to really rethink, how are we showing up in this situation? And what's exciting about it is that these conversations, and I've had many, we're in the process of reinventing, redesigning, recreating this new workplace, where all these different voices are going to be heard, where inclusivity is a real thing, where equity and belonging is a real thing, right? Because everybody will be a part of those decisions when they are being made as we create the future. Not just one grouping saying, hey, this is the way we need to work. No, and from my perspective, being the author of The Authentic You, it's really about tapping into everyone's uniqueness and bringing that into the workplace. So then people can actually see and feel where they fit. And then it's genuine. It's not just a script that has been followed. So that's something to think about, guys, because it's coming. And these are things that need to change. And then I'll pass it over to Isabelle. Okay. So from my perspective, being the author of The Authentic You, Unleash the Leadership Potential, I could go into that whole piece, which I will eventually, but there was even untapped potential in me, and things that I had hidden for about 30 years, and now they're starting to come out. And as they actually step into place, it's inspiring and motivating others. So we want leaders that know how to inspire and motivate others to be their best. But you cannot inspire and motivate another if you can't do it for yourself. So that is a deeper question there. So the leaders in place in your organization, like I said before, they are the ones that are creating the culture for your org. And if you really want to have something impactful, and we've all seen great leaders and we've seen not so great leaders. Great leaders lead by heart. They show up in a way that they are connected to their folks and they care. But they can move mountains. They could get people to follow them and move mountains. Whereas people sometimes that are leading by script they're not tapped into that limitless potential that's still within them. And this is what's so exciting, is that as we start to evolve and we understand who we are becoming, or who you are as an individual in this equation, then there will be significant change as we move and shift into this redesign set, this new world, because people will actually bring their uniqueness in. And think about that. If you have an environment where people are recognized and, honored for their uniqueness that they bring to their table, it will only bring other great things to the table. You are not stifling growth in your environments because it's called diversity of thought. You don't know who's going to come up with the next great idea and how it may work. And I always say this to groups is that not one person owns an idea. And you have to be mindful of people who want to just own, oh, that was my idea, my idea. You will only get more of the same. As we move into this new space, the diversity of having that unique play and your leaders who have different perspectives will only allow your environments to flourish, because you still don't even know how awesome that could be yet, right? Because we've been following the model of more of the same. We need to kind of break it up so everybody's voice can be heard in some way or form. So that's one. Self-management. So authentic leadership is truly, if you want me to use business terms, it's about self-management, self-regulation, identifying the emotions for that individual so they don't get derailed, identifying how they show up if they get triggered, identifying where it's coming from on a more core level, rather than just stuffing it away and pretending that those things don't matter. They do matter. And I know from my history, and I know if any HR practitioners are listening right now, they will know that people derail themselves when the emotions are off play. Emotions are a part of this equation. And authentic leadership is about leading in truth and leading in your own personal connection. And that is self-management, guys. It's teaching your leaders to have self-management skills and to self-regulate so they can show up better in your organizations. So there won't be any intimidating behavior. People will actually engage in conversations. It'll be free flowing, right? And people will want to follow these individuals because they are great people and they're not getting derailed over the emotional piece. And self-management also, and I'll go into authentic and compassionate leaderships, it's all encompassing. These are leaders that have courage. They take risk. They do not live in fear. They actually will help your organizations grow more because they'll make healthy risks, but they are leading by example. They show up in a way, and you know some of the greats, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi. These are people that there was a movement because they led so much with heart. But this heart connection, this self-regulation and authentic leadership is being reconnected to your heart again, reconnected to your truth and who you are as a person. What do you stand for? Do your leaders know what they stand for? Because if they don't, then it's really easy to be off track. Be really easy to kind of look for some sort of script. How should I act? I've had many conversations where people will go, what should I do now? How should I act? The first thing I say to them is, I need to see you. Where are you in this equation? Because that's what people will connect to, back to that connection piece. It will bring us back to that flow and connection of who you are and how you connect with your teams and how you connect within an organization. So that leadership component is huge. And the cultures of creating, especially now, we just saw the Great Resignation. People want to belong to an organization that has meaning, or that at least their contributions mean something. At least their voices get heard somewhere where there's a deeper impact than just coming to work every day. Because that coming to work every day, that old transactional, that exchange for money, and then, hey, I'm here. But I'm telling you, from a business perspective, you're not getting your full exchange of the money if they're not fully engaged. I know that we've all been witness of people when they're fully engaged, they can light organizations on fire with people being inspired and excited. And I think that this is what I was writing about, is that more now than ever, we need leaders to up their game, to understand that that expectation to tap in, to make a human connection is more important than ever. So I just want to make sure that we keep that in check. And you want to increase your employee morale, right? This is like, we all know this, because it can 4 times the productivity as to what you've had right now. It can increase your business results by that much, just by the people component, just by teaching them how to manage themselves, how to show up. And I will promise you, the work that I've been doing is that getting people to be authentic and showing up in a way that they can be their best self and tap into this limitless potential. They will be happier in life, therefore happier in your organizations. Therefore, everybody is winning in this situation. But as an organization, we have a duty to care about our people, to go a little bit deeper and encourage this kind of behavior in order to kind of shift them into this next phase of redesign. It's really exciting, actually, when you think about it, right? Okay. Oh, and this is the one last piece, and then I'll pass it over to Isabelle. I know I've spoken quite a bit. Key message, guys. What you invest in your people is what you're going to get in return. So when I say we have a duty to care, sounds like a very simple concept, but that means we really have to care, right? Hey, it's been a rough go for the past little bit. Have you checked in? Have you seen if your employees are okay? Are they struggling? Or are you just kind of going with the flow? And, at the end of it, you can't be upset, because it's what you've invested is what you will get back, much like a garden. If you plant seeds in the garden and you nurture that garden and you add a little water and sunshine and all that stuff, you're going to have great things that come into place. So I just want to keep that out there. And just remember that, what am I investing here? Have I really made an effort to be connected on a deeper level? All right. And then I will pass this over to you, Isabelle.
Thank you so much. I loved everything you've said. Oh my God, I am jumping up and down inside. I am just like so honored that you are with me by my side, and I'm so grateful. I really am. All right. So what Kristina was saying, and you can certainly watch back and listen, because sometimes it's a lot of information at once, right? Because she did give us a lot of information. And I just want to tell you a little story, because I love corporate America. I know it's crazy, but I do. One of the things that I observed in my career was when we were aligned within the organization, when we were in synchronicity, when we maintained a common focus, you may call it a mission statement or a goal, don't get caught up on the language now. But when you maintained that focus, always, every single time, was abundance of success. Every single time. It could not be. So isn't that curious, right? So when you're in alignment within your organization, within other departments, within sharing information, when in creating an innovation, it's very powerful. And I hope all of you have felt that at least somewhere in your life, when you were part of a team that really collaborated and worked well. I'm not saying there wasn't bumps along the way, but you were able to transcend the miscommunication, the misunderstanding, or the gaps within systems and processes to achieve something tremendous. So how do you do that? Where does that start? Well, It actually starts within you. It really does. You think you need better software. You think you need a better system and process. You think you need to manage your people better, right? You think you have to be more efficient. I understand. But this is going to be a little counterintuitive because all of us feel vibration. And so I'm just going to break it down to what that really means. You know when someone's not engaged. You feel it. You know when someone's upset. You know when someone's blocking you. You know when your project is being stalled. You know when the customer is not signing. You know the delay of a purchase order, right? You understand this. You feel it. You sense it. And then you hope that it's not true or you try to change it, right? So those examples is your feeling of the vibration of the interaction between the people. Okay? All right. So Kristina talked about the state of business where we are now. And there is a transition period. And so I'm just going to say this kind of a little slow. And I just want you to like sit with it. I don't want you to do anything else, but just listen. We are moving away from being a victim. A victim is somebody believes that they have no power and things are happening to them. And when you believe you're a victim, you really go into a state of powerlessness. And when you feel powerlessness, you become anxious, you become depressed, you're not engaged. Okay? We're also moving away from lack. So a lot of our business decisions are based in lack because we're afraid to lose, to fail, to not succeed, to not be efficient or productive. And that is creating from a certain space, I would say, right? Think of your life when you were having fun, you were playing, you were excited, you were engaged, you were creating from a different space on your project, in your team, in your life. And that feels different, right? And the outcome almost feels a little like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did this. Oh my gosh, right? And you get excited. So that's what I mean. Pay attention from the space where you're creating from. We're moving away from fear. So again, don't get caught up on the word. But fear is really the exploration of loss of love. And so when you create from your heart center, you're in a higher vibration. And it's okay if you don't understand this. But if you have a child, and when you love your child, no matter what is happening, you can transcend that moment. You can be encouraging. You can be their anchor through their fear, right? So you do it all the time. I just want you to be aware of when you're in that frequency of fear, which is like control, micromanaging, lots of rules, not giving power because you have to do everything, you have to control everything. And that creates a different environment. And now, if you pause in this, how does that feel? Does that feel good? Does that feel good that somebody doesn't believe in you? Does that feel good when you feel disempowered? Do you feel excited? Do you feel like you're part of a team? Or do you feel like you're just going through the motions, right? Which is why I said we're moving away from apathy. So in my organization in corporate America, I encountered that. I encountered a lot of people giving up, believing they could not make a change, believing they didn't have the ideas, believing that they couldn't speak up, that they didn't want to be seen, that they didn't want to be heard. They had the answers, but they would not come forth with it. They would allow things to fall through the cracks. They would allow things to break because they really believed it was not their responsibility. They really believed it was not their role, and that they were just coming to work because they had to work. They had to receive a paycheck for stability. That is not a fun place to be in for anyone, right? And so we're moving away from not being empowered. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel creative. I want you to feel excited to be where you are, excited to work with the people that you work with, excited to have conversations, to see what you can do, to move things along within the organization. Because it is information that you're moving along in the organization. Even if you're creating something physically, before it was physical, it was energy, it was information, it was a service, it was an idea. It was not in physical reality. Okay. All right, next slide.
I'm already there.
All right. So the previous slide is that transition. And again, you can go back and listen to it, and you can pause into it and kind of look how it plays out in your current life, in your current relationships, in your current organization. Now, I want you to imagine, I want you to play a little game with me because I'm all about games. So I want you to imagine when you wake up, you're excited to play in a sandbox. You are excited to be there. And it doesn't matter your title, the money, the status, or even what you do, right? That's freedom, right? Because if you had faith in all the resources, then you have freedom because now you're playing, right? So the workplace in the future is there's more trust. There's more trust within yourself. There's more trust within others. There is faith, faith that everything is working out, faith that you can do anything, faith that your organization can do anything because you believe more in yourself and more within your coworkers. And it's contagious. There's more self-love. So I know self-love sounds like a weird concept because when I first heard it, I was just like, self-love, what the heck is self-love? But self-love is a softening of judgment. A lot of us are very critical on our stories and what we tell ourselves. I call it that little voice or the ego mind that says you're not good enough, or that ego mind saying you're not deserving, or that ego mind says, put your head down, be quiet, okay? When you love yourself more, the judgment around yourself and others soften. And that creates an opening, and that creates great potentiality. So have you ever had someone who mentored you? that really saw you for you, or a partner or a relationship or a sibling or a best friend that really saw you for you and loved you, it felt good, right? So imagine if you can be that for yourself. That would feel good. And now you're at a higher vibration. And that's why self-love, I know it's a unusual concept, but you don't have to know everything at once. We're going to take it little baby steps. All right, self-awareness. Self-awareness can sometimes be hard because sometimes we don't want to look at ourselves. We don't want to examine what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're judging, what we're doing, right? And that's okay. But that will lead you to your heart connection and to love, because it really is a multi-pronged approach. It's not just one thing. But you can imagine when people are more compassionate with themselves, they will be more compassionate with others. They are being more authentic. They are accepting what is. They are releasing judgment. And when you release judgment, you create fun, joy, happiness, engagement, productivity, because it's in a high frequency. So imagine you are working in a place like that. What do you think your day-to-day life would be like? What do you think your projects would be? Do you think you would be laughing more? Do you think you would be having fun? Would you feel connected? Would you feel passionate? Do you think you might be more curious? Do you think you would be brave and courageous and speaking your perspective? And how would that play out? What would that look like? Right? It sounds amazing, doesn't it? And it is possible. It really is. But we just have to go through the process. We have to take little steps. And that starts with you. It's just the way. All right, is that our last slide? One more, okay. So in that space, there is forgiving. You are more patient with your coworkers. You're not so quick to judge. You are releasing control, meaning you are trusting more of yourself and in others. You are showing up more loving. You are leading from the heart. You are recognizing you are powerful. You are empowering yourself and empowering others. You are acting on inspirations instead of urges. So urges are based in fear and judgment, and you want to change the outcome. That's what an urge is, right? You react. Sometimes you're defensive. Sometimes you shut an energetic door. You get disengaged. Those are urges. But when you're acting in inspiration, you're curious, you're open, you're playful, you're watching it unfold. You're allowing people to be strong, to show their strength, to be unique, to appreciate their uniqueness, to have gratitude. When you're part of a team that works so well together and that you love each other, it is amazing. It's amazing. It's even hard to describe, but I've been blessed. I've had that experience and it's been tremendous. And you can cultivate it. It's being in the flow. I know I said a lot, and I know Kristina said a lot, and it's okay. It's okay. What we're doing right now is we're we're giving you these concepts so that you can pause and think about it in your own life, in your own workforce, and create new desires for your own journey, no matter where you are. Okay, Kristina.
Yeah, that was great. And as like this quote, the way to get started is to quit talking about it and to begin doing. So I just want to say this. The first place you have to start is within, and it's you. And you have to really be honest with yourself as to, are you in alignment to your true self and what your desires are, or are you not? Because you can't blame an organization if you're not in check. That is a you thing. Because when you become aligned, and this is where we can help with that, when you become aligned with your true self, you may not even work for that organization. You might actually be moving into a different place that provides joy and excitement, but you're living in your truth. And I think that is priceless. There's too many people that live their life and they, with a lot of regrets, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and they may even fall into toxic space because other people are living a certain way and they are not happy. And they look for other things to blame in order to answer why they're not happy. The first place, as my beautiful quote has said here, is like, stop talking about it, start looking within and seeing whether or not you're in alignment. And then when you're in alignment, then you can start creating that world that you want to live in. And it could be from an organizational perspective or even in your personal life. But that is so exciting that is truth. And you have that potential right now in this moment to start making change in your life if you want it. So I will leave it at that. And then, yeah. Oh, sorry.
So, no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I'll go back to the last slide. I kind of liked it better. Hold on. It's very powerful. Okay. But I am really excited that we're having these conversations. And, even for myself and probably for Isabelle as well, but for me, I feel like I'm breaking out of the norm. Once I wrote that book, it changed everything for me because it was really about my purpose and my alignment and my truth. And a part of that is having these conversations to help other people understand that you can be fully aligned into your bigger purpose in this world. You just got to step in and start doing that. We're examples of that. So I'm not too sure. Is there any questions or anything like that?
No, I don't see any questions, but that's okay. Thank you guys for coming and spending some time with us and being here. And we'll definitely do another master class because this was laying down the foundations and some concepts. And I think the next class will be around practical steps to take, what you can do, how you can get into alignment, how you can show up in your workforce and integrate it and practice it and doing it. For me personally, I always have to learn the theory first before I can do it. For whatever reason. So to me, this was just your theory class.
Yeah, more to come.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let us know if you enjoyed this conversation, or let us know if there's anything else that you would like us to address or speak around. We would be honored to facilitate another conversation. So until next time, check out our LinkedIn page, Elevate to New Heights. And that's it. Do you want to say anything else, Kristina?
No, I'm excited that if you're here and you're watching, you're potentially on an explore and we're all in different parts. But if you're interested to going on your own personal explore, then just stay connected because this is purposeful work here and we are on this process. We're just at a different phase, but it's super exciting. So just stay connected, reach out. You can message us through the LinkedIn page or, DM us directly. We're very open, and trust me, you would have a great conversation if you actually spoke to either one of us. But I'm really excited because there is more to come. The more we can start stepping into who we are supposed to be and we stop hiding and like trying to, fit these molds, then we can really see what amazing things you have to offer this world. So I'm really, really excited about that. So we'll leave it at that.
Great. All right. Bye, everyone.